What's your story? How did you meet your co-founder? How did you get into this business?
To be honest, it was a great coincidence. So when I left office, the first company that I started was an advisory firm where I worked with few different organizations and individuals. I worked with Peter Thiel, and I worked in the UAE. I figured out very quickly that at a certain point of time, I would like to do something more entrepreneurial than just being an advisor. So I started to travel around and looked for potential partners to start something together with. And I was at a few places in the US and also in Middle East. And one day I went to Tel Aviv, and a friend of mine told me that he would gather the most interesting tech people in Israel and arrange a dinner for me. And when I arrived at the airport, he texted me, "I'm so sorry, my wife is in hospital, I cannot come, but I sent somebody to pick you up." So I was standing at the airport, had this message on my phone, thought, okay, 2 days, waste of time, because without him, it will not really work out. So I already looked, if there were, earlier flights back. But then there was the guy whom he sent standing next to me at the airport and looked at me and said, "Are you Sebastian?" And I said, "Yes." And I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm here to babysit you for the next 2 days." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I'm your driver." So I entered his car, and we drove to the city center, and I did a phone call in the car. So we didn't really talk a lot. And then at the first meeting, I realized that everybody was very respectful and everybody knew him. So I told him, "Okay, so what are you doing when you are not driving me around or when you are not my babysitter?" And he said, "You don't know?" And I said, "No, I don't know." And he said, "I'm the founder of NSO. I invented the spy software Pegasus." So I did my meetings, met a lot of interesting people, but after the meetings, I told him, "Look, give me a demo and show me what you built." And he's a very charismatic person. So after the 2 days in Tel Aviv, I, in the end, told him, "Look, thank you for taking care and helping out, because my friend was not able to arrange all that. I really enjoyed it. But what I really would like to do is I would like to start something with you, but not offensive cyber." And he laughed and said, "That's great, because I would also like to do something with you. But what do you expect? I'm the founder of the biggest offensive cyber company in the world." So I told him, "Look, I was prime minister. Now I'm not anymore. So probably something in your life is going to change as well, and then give me a call." And a few months later, he left the company, sold his shares, and I was literally the first person that he called. And he said, "Do you still want to do something together?" I said, "Of course." So we met, and then it took us a while to figure out what to do exactly. And in the end, together with a third co-founder, we started Dream, an AI cyber company, with the idea that in the past, nations were super nations if they had nuclear. And we thought in the future, nations will be super nations that control cyber, AI, and quantum. Quantum is still very early, so we wanted to focus on AI and cyber. And we started Dream, a company that now does sovereign AI and AI-based cybersecurity for countries in Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Europe.
Nice. So earlier, you were in the... This is very interesting. So you, as a prime minister, earlier was in a position where you wanted to protect your country, right? And your co-founder was in a position where he wanted to attack people and gather information. Now you come together to defend and build a mechanism a lot because he was the one who would enter people's computers and software. He understands what are the vulnerabilities. So now you're building the defense mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. So he also, of course, worked only for governments, because it's a very regulated business and industry. But he worked for government and agencies to fight crime with his offensive cyber products. When we started the company, the bet was that probably the best knowledge to defend critical infrastructure and governments is gathered by people who have offensive experience.
Yeah.
And our idea was that if we combine all the experience from the offensive cyber with the superpower of AI, we can build a platform that is able to protect against the future risks of AI-based cyber attacks. This was the idea when we started. And to be honest, it happened exactly like this, because if you look at the big threats today, it's not hackers anymore. Yeah. The big threat today is that hackers have superpower because they use AI. To give you an example, in the past, if somebody wanted to orchestrate a massive attack, he needed a big team, a lot of money, and months to find a few vulnerabilities, so-called 0 days, in order to be able to start an attack. Today, if a hacker, just one person, has the right AI capacities, he gets not a few, but hundreds of 0 days, and not within a few months, but within a few minutes. So I think that we will see cyber attacks at big scale in the future that nobody was thinking about a few years ago. And the only way to protect is with AI.
When you sit with potential partners and clients who are trusting you now, do they find it more difficult to trust your partner because he was earlier in the business of spying?
Not at all.
Or do they find it more comforting because they feel like he knows everything and probably the best?
Absolutely. Because look, if you work with somebody, especially in this field, you want to reduce your risk. And you can do that if you work with the best talent in the world. And the best talent to defend will always be people who have a lot of experience on the other side. Yeah. So I think one of the reasons why the company is so successful is because we were really able to gather great talent and to train a model which is exceptional because, of course, what is doable with AI today, but also because of the quality of the people working on it.
This is such an incredible startup, I would say. I mean, I don't know the exact mechanics of what exactly you do, but just from the idea point of view, this sounds so exciting because he was with Israel, the country known for their accuracy
in cyber
and in gathering the information. And he was one of the key people in the world to help them do that. And Pegasus, we all know what that software has created in the world. In fact, India knows a lot because there were a lot of people who were compromised because of that, that software, that whatever you call that virus, right? He built that. And now he's helping you build a defense mechanism around it. On the paper, it sounds so like too good to be real.
No, it was a long journey, because the idea is easy, but to really build it is a lot of hard work. So when we started 3.5 years ago, we started just us. Then we hired a management. We hired the first employees, and we built it step by step. Now, 1 month ago, we closed our last round. We raised 260 million at a valuation of 3 billion. And we are now working in several countries in Europe and also in Middle East and in Southeast Asia. And besides the cybersecurity platform that we offer, we also entered in the field of sovereign AI. So we built AI solutions that governments can own, operate and control 100% themselves. Solutions that also work on-prem and air-gapped, so with no connection to the internet, which is something that you need, especially if you have sensitive data. So I think because of the world we live in and all the tensions that we have, you will see that more and more countries will try to be more independent, to have their sovereign solutions when it comes to AI. Because as we discussed before, AI is not like only one aspect or only one area of the economy. It's so transformative that it will become part of the critical infrastructure. And every country, as it controls its energy infrastructure or its water supply, every country will also try to be as independent as possible on their AI.
Thank you so much for watching this episode till the end. We would love to know what you liked or disliked about this episode and which guest you would like to see again on this show, or which are the new guests that you want to see. Let us know in the comments. Your feedback helps us improve and make every episode a little better. I'll see you the next time. Until then, keep figuring out.